Good morning. It's the crypto day morning. Today's date is in that of the 14th of December, 2018, and welcome to the Money Charts channel. All bets, trades of the like within your own risk reward. And let's start off with in Bitcoin, move on to some alternate coins after that. And yes, so 18 average on the daily chart. And leaving the second correctionary mode, the first one happened in here. Now, it still has to break down this key level of support that the low was 3,200 low change, 3,212 to be exact on the Coinbase exchange. And it's practically there in that general ballpark figure with 3,268 being in that of the current level. When I look at this on the 4-hour term time frame, since that low, it had its first move above the 18 average. But how did the 18 average of lows test or work as support? Question mark. The answer is it failed, or it's failing at this point. It hasn't broken this support yet. First of all, it didn't even support it, as it had this interesting move to the 18 average of highs in here, came back down and resisted it for quite some time. It then resisted the 18 average of highs, newly declining, but barely declining. And it's still, for that matter, barely declining, even though the rate of descent starting from this period here has went down a little bit greater. But it's resisting this key area. And after this down move here, two okay, but not large grid-sized candles down, has had very tiny consolidation. So that hiccup move, or just congesting the move and digesting, that's the word I was looking for, digesting the play of going down from 34 to 32, losing about 7% is like, oh, well, no one's coming in and buying yet. And that's the thing about these markets, is as long as there's people willing to sell at these levels, it's going to continue. Even though it's oversold, it will just get more oversold. But there's always people that are like, like say myself as one example, for a small amount. I'm not looking to buy now. I'm waiting for 3,000. So there's everyone working their strategies together. So there does come a point in these bear markets where buyers are just going to come in and say, yep, now's the time where I got to get in. And especially when the big institutional money gets into play, that's when things get very interesting. And same thing on the downside, or the selling. There gets to a point where the supply of people selling reduces so much that it almost forces those big buyers, whether it's at that time or not, to buy. And if some people stayed at 3,000 or 28, that it's time to buy big, that means you get the ones waiting at 2,400 and 2,000 that might have to come in thereafter as well, which can create some very interesting quick up and down moves. Single hour time frame. It was an interesting night, as it wasn't interesting. It just went sideways. So this down move has corrected through time, establishing big resistance and support, noticeable. I'm not going to say the level, say the number, but if you need to figure it out, it's, again, so obvious. But when we look at some of these moves in here, breaks down below this level of support and then quickly breaks this level of resistance. Well, since then, it's just done a little bit of nothing. But recently, we can see that within its tiny volatility within it, because, well, it's just small, but it's noticeable. What's happening in here? You have breaking support and resistance. Well, 1 minute term time frame. There you have it. It's a little bit of it looks like things are going to be breaking down. Comes down to this key level. Okay, we're finding support, and then you break that support mark. And it's just managed to come back to where it is, but maintaining its choppy action. This is just more interesting more than anything. It's because of its extreme lack of volatility within what's going on in here. And you don't see anything really of such on the single hour time frame. That When it breaks the support, I'm going to be expecting 3,029, 28, and that's a conservative number. And as I mentioned, when buyers are ready to come in, that could be an interesting situation. Let's take a look at a little bit of altcoins next. And I want to first focus on coins that I think might be ready to pop or ready to have a possible good gain. Dogecoin, which has been in a downtrend from the September highs. Bottoms and tops are known after the fact, and we have this bottom now in at the November 14th time frame at 45. Nice resistance here, but it's been successfully correcting the 18 average on its first attempt to revert the trend. The move in here barely, but did get above the 18 average of highs, and still enough to support this level of resistance that became support in yesterday's session, leaving the 18 average of highs and holding in there right now. But this thing most certainly wouldn't be a surprise to have a move where it can maybe get into the 70s over the next few days. If, of course, it doesn't, I'm going to be looking for major support level to be right around that 18 average of lows area, or this around 54 as a pierce below, because you got this low here, and that's what I'm saying is just a higher low to the 51. And the next one, it's in that of Tron, and on the November the 29th resisted the level at about 389. And then successfully, fantastically correcting amongst the 18 of highs on the 7th of December into the 8th. It managed to pretty much make a matching low, but noticeable pierce above. And then its correction continued like it did before to correct within such. And yesterday's session closing near the top, and so far, halfway through, is just holding that move very, very nicely. When we look at this on a 4-hour term, we can see several 18 low correctionary moves, and since this high, it is still holding in there, and this level of resistance established here at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern on the 7th of December has managed higher lows every time, that breaking out above such, which is right in here. Let's just maybe use the weekly time frame. Then what we're looking at here is the potential, well, not potential, the establishing some sort of resistance above the 18 highs, or attempting to revert this down/neutral trend to that of the upside. Next up is Polymath, and within such here, this had this resistance established at the 4,400 change on the 6th of December, has successfully been correcting the 18 average of lows with one resistance test on December the 9th. The session on the 12th got up to the 18 average of highs closing and such, but yesterday maintaining about an equal size, bit greater, but we'll say equal size satisfactory or even above satisfactory green candle, but above the 18 average of highs, holding it so far. It's barely starting to rise, it being, of course, this band. When we take a look at this on a 4-hour term, what I look at from here is how short term this resistance has been established at about 4,060 and has managed to stay within this 18. So it's okay to see the band flatten out and just stay sideways and go down another couple hundred points or whatever. I really want to see this hold above 3,600 to about the 3,700 range. So if it falls below 37, the 100 basis point handle to me is very important. But eventually, if it gets above this level, even above 41 for that matter, well, first off, I think it's got a good chance of getting to the high 43s, or about a 7% move just to get there. But as you would see it on the daily term, you'd be looking at, okay, what's the next? 5,300 area as its next resistance test. And it's not a surprise. In fact, I'd be saying, I don't know how much, unless of course you're playing conservative or you're playing selling very small amounts. I'm not too enthusiastic in selling this move as it breaks out, as I would be up towards the 52. And even then, I'm only selling a small amount, because at that point, if it makes a move to 52, I would call that a now what situation question mark, because I don't know if it's going to keep going further and having amazing leg higher, I don't know if it's going to be a bullish spot where it's going to come down maybe to like 4,000 if you have a move from here to here. But until that happens, this is how it's looking now. And let's move on and talk about coins that moved yesterday. That's pretty much in stage 2 in the attempt to revert the trend. And the first of that being Qtum, which had a very large gain yesterday, making it from the lows of the 450 handle up to about 600. So therefore, well noticeable above the 18 highs. 18 average band starting to rise. We take a look at this. So one of the things, 61.8% Fibonacci. I'm not going to calculate it, but from this low to this high, and generally speaking, it's somewhere around here, around the 500 mark. And that's really it. Where did it come from? 480. So hold the 18 average of lows. All that type of stuff becomes very, very important within that market on the short-term time frame. 526 has been established as big support. If that level fails, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down and maybe even test some of this area 500 down to about 487. But getting above this 18 highs, you first got the resistance test at the recently established 600 level. And then, of course, if it's able to get above that, that's continuation of what's a spectacular move. And now you're starting to talk about, okay, well, can you give me another 100 basis points? 700 is an area of previous resistance in here. And it's a decent size leg higher, if, of course, it has it. But that's the thing. If it doesn't support the 18, well, the 18 lows gives in, shows weakness later on, you're looking at the potential of this thing breaking down a new leg below 452 thereafter that. No limit coins, same situation, and even within this, you have this move in here, and then there's your failure amongst the 18, and there's your leg lower. So same sort of similar deal, which is why if you're just not caring, and I say not caring and predicting the direction it's going to go, thus, oh, have sell orders in place, buy, oh, buy more, and now you can sell up here from what you bought down here. And not care where it goes down to the degree that as long as it doesn't keep going down forever, I'll be buying up here. I'm hoping that my next 40 orders, given how much it's gotten its ass kicked, is going to have over 30 sells in it. And a primary trend will move higher at some point. But really, the way these cryptos have worked historically, they can have some decent size legs lower and even decent size in time. But those some points of up move and down moves do play relevant within these markets. Let's now move on to a couple coins that are showing the failed move, fast move situation. The first being Stratus. And within its daily term, I mean, it's really obvious, I think anyway. Here's your breakout. Breaks this key level of support. Quickly comes back to its congestion area. This is that congestion area. Supporting the 18 average of lows for a while. And then relatively quickly thereafter, and it took a few days, but that 7 periods is relatively quickly, it starts to fail. And this is what we're seeing now as it looks to be breaking down below. I would expect at least a move to this previous support. And that's the key word, is at least, because you can be talking about, well, we've been in this general area for a little bit. We're resisting this support from August and September. So what's the next leg lower? Well, we could be heading down. I'm looking at this area around 7, 8,000, 9,000. That's 40, 50, 60% down. Could very easily be next in store for this, if, of course, the support level breaks, as we can see on the weekly 18-term test down. And it can happen in like 2 or 3 days. Bitcoin falls to like 25, 2,400. And maybe this thing might do that in the same time. But it wouldn't surprise me if a move, maybe not as extreme as this, but moves like this do occur again, like was the case in March of last year when this thing went from 7,200 Satoshi to almost 500,000. ARN also shows a failed move, fast move situation. This is its weekly, but we can see it on the daily. Yeah, it's just obvious to see. And support, let's move on to the next one. You can tell. And where does it go? Yeah, roughly, I'm looking at about 4,000-ish area, even piercing down to about 35 as where it came from. And then, of course, back on the weekly chart, if it breaks down below that, we got, I mean, this is 2000. There's extreme volatility, but this is the image that is awesome in notification for high risk, high reward. Especially when you can understand and control your risk reward management in a positive, effective way. 2300 makes, I'm not going to say, yeah, it kind of makes, it does make sense on a down leg lower. It could even go lower than that. But to do such, that's a 3x move. Yet over the next, say, 9, 10, 12 weeks, which translates into a few months, this thing could be up to like 30, 40, 50,000. 7x move. And then it could easily be much higher than that as well. So definite understanding of these high risk, high reward plays. When you're playing coins and codes like this that are less known, less volume, they're more volatile. And even the major caps like Ethereum and Litecoin, let's quickly show those two because they're interesting as well. Well, they're generally not going to have as big of moves when they're just not as likely to have 100x moves, but I mean they do. They at many times as well have large plays. Within Ethereum, it's just grinding its way within the 18, a little sideways, but within such we can see a clear range that it's going through. Total downtrend on here, so almost matching those lower highs. If it breaks down below, we're looking for at least a support test here, breaking down below this. I'll definitely be getting a new leg lower. Litecoin showing signs of possibly reverting the trend. And on its 4-hour term, you have this sideways, or this support key established. But since this low, 18 low, has been good support, break above the 18 and supporting the next period at the 18 of highs. This one here, I think it's definitely important, I think, to not only have a higher low from the 691, but short term, even definitely staying above. I would even like to see it like over 7, like not go below 7. But getting above this level of resistance, if that's what I want to get to, because I want to make this video faster, because it's almost 20 minutes. But 72 handle, 72.4, you know what, it's got potential to get going. And on its daily term, it has, of course, been beat or down. The next resistance test, when you're down below the 18 lows like this, to me, I'm going to be looking at the 18 average of highs, maybe even piercing above such, and that's in at 755. And I'm going to conclude this video now. I've put up most of the topics that I wanted to, and I wanted to make this under 20 minutes, so I could ramble on for the next 115 seconds or so. But, you know, I really don't feel like doing that. Like, what productiveness would that really have to just really stall time? Because I'm not going to be showing anymore. And now this is getting boring, so have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.